Made it! Morning, we have sound this week. This is Geek Speak, and we are here to talk about leveraging your current clients to make more money. So I'm Pip. I run a small agency called Seymour Digital Media, and we help entrepreneurs and business owners and startups manage their marketing on search, mostly search, so Google Ads and SEO. And this is Greg.
Hey everyone, my name is Greg. I run Original 72 Creative, and we're a full-service website graphic design and digital marketing firm in the Vancouver area.
Right, and this is us together. So we are using eCam, which makes it more fun. If you click on, the link, you can put your little face up. Greg's here, Julia's here, and Jessica's here so far. Hi guys, thank you, Phelan. Today we're talking about an amazing topic, I think, right, Greg?
Yeah, it was something we chatted about a while back, and I think, if I recall, was spurred on by a story that I told you about when working from home, lonely, I would start to go out and visit clients and stuff, and what happened when I did. So,
right, it's and I think we all come up against this in every business. Oh, Graham is here too. Hey, Graham. We all come up against this with developing our clients, and it's always better to work on clients you have and do it really well and increase your services, because it's less of a process and you've already done half the legwork. So I think we wanted to talk about this because we saw and we ourselves struggle with this. So hopefully when you come on here and you guys are joining us, you'll have some opinions too, because it's a group effort growing our businesses, especially in marketing, right? There's been a lot going on lately, Greg. So we were going to dive into, I think there are 4 things I listed out as, I can't even see it now, but we're going to dive into, what things we do and what things you can do to leverage those client relationships to build your business and do even better. If you have suggestions, mention them or pipe in how you upsell your clients technically, because I think that's a little bit about what it's about. Right, Greg?
yeah, I mean, we're here to hopefully help people leverage their current client base, and we have things that we do, but if other people have things they do, they should definitely share so we can all benefit from ways to strategize about trying to make a little bit more money off the current client bases we have.
Now, one of the things that we talked about, and this kind of relates, but it's a little different, is now you'll see job postings everywhere, and of course you will. And one of the things is it's better to have more skills, right? So if you're a content writer, being able to use graphics is one of those things that can really help you in your business develop out your services. And we're seeing that more and more, right? Like, you can't just make an image without the content. I mean, you can. But so do you guys offer a combination of services? I know Graham was saying she's really focused in on one service. So I'm wondering how she would upsell from there. But so that was one thing I wanted to mention. It's not really on topic, but it kind of relates. Mm-hmm. Where I also noticed in my business that eventually when I was selling X, it transcended into Y. So meaning when I sell Google AdWords, a lot of the time, the next step is retargeting, and then after that is SEO, right? So that's, and then you have the website development. So what are you seeing with your job, Greg?
What am I seeing with my job?
Like you're a web developer, first and foremost, and as you are developing websites, you have to get content, get images, and now you do a lot of image work, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a designer, so.
But I mean, first and foremost, you developed websites.
Web design and development. It's design.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, design to me, design is design, right? Like graphic design you're a graphic designer and you can design websites, you can design logos, you can design print material, whatever. You're a graphic designer. It's just the medium that you're focusing on. And I started out doing mostly website designing.
See, I always think of it a little differently because I think website design is about the code, and then I think graphic design is about the images.
Website development is definitely about the code. I mean, web designers / developers. So I think we talked about this a little bit in the group a little while back about web design versus web development, and along the lines of what you were just saying a minute ago is how everybody wants that person to have all of the skills.
All the skills.
Some companies only have web designers do the design portion, and then they have the developers do all of the coding, JavaScript, HTML, CSS stuff, and they're separate jobs, right? Whereas because I'm a freelance, I will do all of it. Right. So
I think that's good. I mean, for us, we notice like when somebody wants their site SEO'd, it's often better to do it at the same time as when you're developing the content. And that's something we come up against, because you definitely want to have a designer and somebody that's going to optimize your site at the same time versus doing after because you have to change things. Right? So just those skills. So when we get down to it, I'm looking at my notes. It's all in the process. I think that was a big thing that came out of our discussion, which is when you're starting out, it's good to have that range of service. So even if somebody just buys one, if you're mentioning all your services at the onset, they're going to be more likely to maybe ask you to help them with something additional.
Yeah, I mean, most businesses will try to focus on doing one thing amazing and do that for all their customers. And I guess today's topic is more along the lines of, okay, now that you're doing amazing at the one thing that you set out to do, how can you get more revenue out of your client base that you have by the biggest item, and item number one on my list of 4 things you can do is introduce new services on top of that first core service that you've set out to provide for customers.
Right. So have you done that?
Shit, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You offer variety.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I started off doing web design and building websites, and since then, I did focus more on web design. So since doing this for so long, I did start branching off and doing logo design, branding, and business cards, letterheads, and all the print materials that businesses need. So if I got in the door with a website, and their stuff was sort of not all together, I went to them and said, hey, well, listen, let's get all of your branding together. And I started selling, branding packages to get the businesses in shape and looking professional.
I did see one
on top of the web stuff, then I added, SEO and paid advertising and then social media advertising. And so it's just snowballed into service after service because they're all relating back to the website for the most part.
They all do related, and it starts with words, right, on a page. So
that's the one thing I don't do is copywriting.
And that is a profession unto itself for sure, right?
Yeah. I don't think I can learn that skill.
It's interesting because the people that do the best, I think, in that environment, look at the cups. Look at the cups. The people that do the best in that environment are the people that did flyers. The calls to action and the content on a flyer that used to go into your mailbox. Now, those people had it dialed in. They were doing huge calls to action. Anyway, Greg, number 2 on the list. Number 2 is upping your rates, right? Once you get to a certain skill level.
Yeah.
It's a good way to make more money from the existing clients.
I don't even know if I don't base things on skill level because I don't think a business should
Interesting.
determine their rates based on their skill. Okay, if you're a newbie, I mean, obviously, yeah, you're not going to charge maybe as much as you would if you were a seasoned person, but you're still going to be in the range. You're gonna set your rate. It's not going to be way under market value. It's going to be maybe at the lower end, and maybe as you feel more comfortable, you'll start raising your rates. But what what raising your rates does is two things, okay? People typically are scared to raise their rates. They're like, what if I raise my rates, this customer's not maybe going to leave me or not use me as much. So will I make more or will I just get less people wanting to do things? And that's a valid thing to think about. But over all the time that I've been doing this, there has only been a positive outcome anytime I've raised my rates.
Interesting.
To the point where sometimes people feel that he is more serious about what he does, or you can trust this person even more because they are charging more. Because businesses, I guess there's a couple of types of businesses that are just cheap, they don't want to pay a lot. But then when you have good customers, they value your time and what you do for them, and they'll look at you upping your rates as, I mean, they won't look at it necessarily as positive, but it's a positive for your business because if you're upping your rates, typically you're doing well and you can command more. So I've never experienced any large drop off of customers when I have raised my rates.
Right. I get Grim. Grim is saying that she niched down, and Sherry's here. Yay! That's interesting because I will tell you, I raised my rates recently because I had to. We were working really hard, getting clients, and struggling with our time and not making enough money. So one of the things we did do was raise our rates. The one mistake I made in a proposal I sent out was because I had sent the rates to this person already, and I said, because of circumstances throughout the process, I had to say, basically our rates have gone up, and this is why. And the mistake I made was that I didn't offer a tiered system. Like I didn't offer 3 options, I offered 1. And so that's what I would do differently next time. But we had to raise our rates, and it's a way to make sure that we're servicing our current clients really well. Now, sometimes raising your rates for your current clients is a really hard thing to do because say they've been with you from the start, right? And they depend on you, and all of a sudden, so we raised our rates, I think, last year a little bit, but we still gave a really big discount to nonprofits. That being said, many of us in here and many people believe you should never discount. And I do agree with that. Nonprofits, on average, in marketing world, do get a 30% discount usually from agencies, from the newspaper. So that's something to be aware of.
I would refer to that as a preferred rate as opposed to a discount on your services. I mean, if you do have customers like that, maybe you set a preferred rate for those customers, which is lower than your normal rate, but I wouldn't think of it as a discount. And I'm one of those people in the camp of you should never discount.
Never discount
your time or your services. Add value. If you want to show people or give someone something a little bit extra, don't discount. Add some type of value to what you're doing. Maybe do a little bit of extra.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. And I think that makes sense. For instance, we offer retargeting, and we could have added value by saying we'll create the ads, right? Versus charging that as a separate thing and giving a discount.
I'll give you I'll give you the perfect example.
Give me the perfect example.
Of why you don't want a discount.
Okay.
I shop a lot at Old Navy. And
you heard it here first, people.
I will basically never go to Old Navy and pay regular price for anything. I will always wait until it's on sale because they do sales all the time. So everybody is accustomed to knowing that they have these sales all the time and everything's discounted, and that's when everybody goes and buys their stuff, you know? So they've created this system where, in my mind, I don't think I would ever go to Old Navy and buy something at full price, because if I see something I like, I'm just going to wait until they put it on sale and then go buy it. So they're never getting full price from me.
Do you remember, what was that service that came out that Google tried to buy where you got discounts on services emailed to you and like 50% off? It was such a big deal a few years ago, and literally Google offered to buy them and they said no, and now I don't even think they exist. It was something Groupon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Groupon is still around.
They're not doing half as well.
I don't know. I used them when they first came out for a couple of things. I bought something for a deal, but yeah, there was not a lot of Groupon offers that I thought were that great. So I just I've since forgotten about them, and I never look at them. So
I think that's a really good point about the discounting. We are going to touch on my favorite segment of this talk, which is spending money, getting your clients to spend money on value and on additional services you have, right? So this is that's what it is. Yeah, get them to spend more on your current services. So that's a really value-based idea for building your business, right?
Well, my point there is more on, if your clients are already doing something with you, some type of service, whatever it is, instead of introducing a new service and getting them on that, get them to spend more on the current thing that you're currently doing for them. And, you know, I'm trying to think of an example.
I have one.
It depends on your services.
Right. AdWords is a really good one, because the whole process is made so that once you get results and you're getting conversions, you'll want to spend more because you'll get more conversions. I mean, there is probably a ceiling to that, but I think you could, spend tons of money on there. And the more you do for the customer in AdWords, the more you should really get paid, right? So it builds its way out.
So, yeah, I thought of an example for me. A simple example would be like if I've done a website for someone and they don't do a ton of updates on their site. And typically a lot of the clients I deal with, like they're on WordPress or they're on a content management system to be able to do stuff themselves. But honestly, it's just a convenience to be on the content management system to be able to do updates to the site quicker. And they do use me to just make changes. And so if they're doing things, but they're not doing things on a regular basis, I go to them and say, hey, listen, we should keep the website update on a more regular basis. And, that spurs on them sending me, more, content to update or add to the website on a more regular basis. So that's where, I'm doing something for them, making a little bit, but I'm going back to them and saying, hey, let's do more. It's better for the SEO. Let's ramp up, changes and keep the website fresh, and getting them to send more. So I'm spending more time to do that stuff for them.
I will say, having a web person in your back pocket, or someone like as a business owner, that's something that maybe you don't want to think about, right? And having somebody in your pocket that you can call and be like, can you do this? Versus struggling your way through it. Karen Fern is here. I say your last name because we have a couple Karens. super glad you're here. So how do you guys increase the value of what you're doing? How do you keep your clients happy, and instead of getting more clients, work on those? Like, we're all in different businesses. There's so many ways to do this. I think, Greg, we touched on something really important when we had our conversation, which was interacting with your client and getting in front of them more often, right? Creating that into your lifestyle and strategy, and making sure you're reaching out to them monthly or weekly, and that you're touching base, because then you're going to get them asking you questions, and then you can be like, oh, I can help you with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that happened to me when I was going through this phase of loneliness, sitting in my, back office all day with nobody to talk to. And I started to go out on Fridays and just visit random clients. Like, they didn't know I was coming. I would just get out of the house and go around to 2 or 3 clients just to have a chat and visit them. And they felt, oh man, this guy's coming in. Like, I didn't ask him to come in. He's coming in to see how business is and touch base. And so it gave me what I needed with a little bit of human interaction. But every time I walked away from one of these visits, there was always something we talked about that I came back and needed to then do for them on the site, or whatever it was that I was doing for them. So it gave me what I needed, and it also gave me what I needed. Twofold.
Karen's saying that's really good, Greg. And yes, it is. Karen, don't pump his head up too much, though. I mean, really. It is true. I think, number one, touching on the lonely entrepreneur, I think it's tough. It's tough sitting in your back office and being lonely. And funny enough, Greg, you did the perfect solution, right? Because touching base with your clients and interacting with them, it solidifies your relationship. And you know what? I know a lot of businesses don't do it. I know a lot of businesses that I am in competition with just send out like a monthly report with an email. That doesn't help anybody feel good, right? I mean, you get the data, you get the info, but it's kind of, there's something between you.
In my mind, there's 2 biggest things to maybe freelancing or just business in general is to make your money, like get paid for what you do your work for the client and do it well, and customer relation.
Right.
Have a good relationship. Make sure you do the work. Make sure you do it really good, and make sure you have a really good relationship with the client.
Right.
And if you have a really good relationship with the client, then the work comes. They're happier. And if you do good work, they're happier.
And they'll recommend you, right? We all do WOM, that word of mouth. Lucinda's here, and Mona's joined us. Yay, guys, you're awesome. I would say now, if you are, say, more of a virtual entrepreneur where your clients are everywhere around the world, hopping on video with your client for a monthly meeting or a monthly review, that stuff, nothing beats it, right? You're still getting in front of them. You might not be leaving your little office, but it is something that we do. So we actually do this. We do video reports for our clients, and we're building that into what we do so we can educate people on the process, keep ourselves educated, and interact with our clients. We thought it was a really good strategy for staying in front of our current clients. And also in that process, we recommend things. So we can recommend, doing retargeting, or we're seeing this on Facebook, and I'm hoping it'll be a game changer. I will report on this in a month or 2, right? Ooh, Mona's listening in the car while she drives. You're awesome, Mona. I just love it. I'm so glad you're here. You guys are wonderful. So what strategies are you doing? Karen's saying the weather's getting better. She's going back out there, and she uses YouTube that YouTube strategy with all the changes going on Facebook, that might be a good way to go. Did you see you can actually invite friends to YouTube now? Did you see
I
that?
saw you posted something
I did.
inviting people from the group to like or friend you on.
Yeah, on YouTube. Kind of strange. I know, a little off topic, but super interesting. Something to keep an eye out for.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm wondering what other people do to increase sales with their current clients. Have you heard of Grant Cardone?
No.
Okay, he's a sales guy, and he is really funny. Well, his thing is just sell. Don't worry about your client. Worry about that later. Don't worry about service. Worry about that later. Just sell. Super funny, I have to say. But I don't necessarily.
Well, everything opposite of what we're saying.
Right.
Sorry.
But he does really well. He's done really well, and I mean, service can come later. However, I think servicing well will get you better clients and more clients.
Yeah, I think he's probably coming at it from the view of like they're not a customer yet, and you got to sell them. You got to get in front of them. You got to sell them. We're talking about once he's done his process of getting a client in the door, make them feel like the king client you have, do the work well, and then keep up a good relationship with them and try to get them on additional services or starting to spend more money after you've proven that you're worth it and you do good work.
Right. It's harder to get new clients, right? And I don't know about you, but for my business, the onboarding for AdWords is a lot of work. And so onboarding new clients all the time, although really fun to build out campaigns, the servicing the accounts I already have and the building on those and making them bigger and getting better results, I think that's where it's at. Sherry's saying she suggests a call on Skype and personal meetings. It is a good way to keep tabs on your clients and help them with. We went into a client last week and they were having issue. We were originally told they wanted Facebook likes, vanity metric, we know, but we focused on that a little bit because of them. And then they're like, we're not getting any leads. And I'm like, well, Facebook has completely changed its organic reach. So being able to have that conversation constantly too, so you can pivot your services and make sure your clients are happy, right?
I wanted to reiterate something. I saw Grim's post here that she's in a live or a group chat, one-on-one almost every day. Wow. With people. And that's part of her service. But what I'm saying in mine, which was spurring on additional work for me, was just random, like I wasn't going for work purposes. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a meeting. I was just doing client relations and getting out of the office to be around people. And I was getting work indirectly because of just going in and visiting people. So, but it is obviously important to still keep in touch with your client on a regular basis, because that goes back to an issue we had my previous business where we didn't do that. And every time we heard from a customer, it was because, oh, my website's down, or, oh, there's a problem with my website, or, this happened, or this isn't working, or we have, whatever problem. So it was always a negative,
interesting,
conversation.
That doesn't make you want to talk to your clients.
Doesn't make me want to talk to them?
No, anybody, right? If it's always an issue.
No, yeah. But what would happen is, like, they would call, and it would always be somewhat of a negative tone because there was an issue. So we made it a point to start contacting customers, and like when there was nothing wrong, and being like, oh, hey, the site's been performing really well. You've been making a lot of sales. How's things? Like, so we had those interactions with the customers on positive levels as well. And when there was an issue, they would have to call and say, oh, hey, something's not working properly. Can you have a look at that? But at least there was both sides. It wasn't always negative.
Right. And they're feeling taken care of. I think that's the biggest thing with working with any business is you want to feel like you matter. A lot of the time on social and stuff like that, we look at numbers, and in analytics we look at numbers. Well, each of those numbers is a person, and with an experience, and so servicing them, and taking more time maybe to build out that strategy, like going to visit, because you don't always have to sell. We see a lot of sales stuff on social. What if you stopped selling? What if we all just stopped selling and just started servicing? What would that do, right? Just service a little. I mean, you know what I mean, right? Right? Sherry saying that was very cool, Grim. And, so I missed a comment there. I'm going to have to go back and look at it. I think that's a really, actually good tip, Greg, the calling once a month, like setting that up as a strategy to check in and tell people what's working. That's pretty smart. You guys got anything out there you want to share as for tips? Check in. Okay, I'm reading things now, so I'll just put it on a screen. It sounds like everybody's trying to do different things to service their clients. I mean, Greg, you've had clients for a number of years, right? We're gonna have to move it on. We're running out of time, but I wanted to ask this question. Like, your repeat customer base is extraordinary from what I'm hearing.
Extraordinary in what way?
People stay with you for a long time.
People do stay with me, and even if they leave me at some point, a lot of times they do come back to me. So, I mean, you can't keep every client happy, and sometimes I even have a client that I just can't get rid of. You get rid of them, and then they keep coming back again, and then you keep getting rid of them, and they come back again. But I do have clients that I still work with that I initially started working with, did their first websites back in the early 2000s, and they're still really good clients of mine today. So I feel that's a big feather in my cap to have customers that have been that loyal to me. It shows me that, I have a valuable service, and I have things that I can do, and I'm a trustworthy web designer, where you sometimes cannot find trustworthy web designers out there.
It's interesting. I have seen some funny stuff with web designers. But essentially, yes, your service is really good. Now, my question for you guys, we're gonna leave in a minute, but my question for you guys is, will you implement anything we talked about in this chat today? And if you're going to implement something, let us know what it is, because we'll check in and see how it goes in the future. This chat went really fast. But, Greg, what are we talking about next week?
Oh, we are talking with Vari is going to be a guest.
That's right.
Yes, and we are, I don't know, what are we talking about?
This one's really good, guys. This one, you know what? This one's going to help me too. But it's what to ask when hiring a web designer. Like,
there you go.
So I think this is extremely important to have the questions, because we often don't know what to ask. And so I think having two web developers in one room and me, it's going to be such a good time. I'm going to ask so many questions. So pull out your questions on what you think you need to ask a web developer, web designer, because they're both. And we're going to touch on that next week at 11 a.m. right here in the group. And if you have comments, questions, concerns, just message us. I'll go through the comments later today and answer them. Greg will do the same, I'm sure. But so let's say goodbye. Bye, Greg.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Bye.